All right, emergency update. In the next 72 hours, if we do not see some incredibly aggressive diplomacy, I'm talking about all-nighter, binge, coffee drinking, chain smoking diplomacy, auspicious towards the progress of resolving this Middle Eastern crisis, then this war is going to widen and it is going to massively intensify. Right now, the BRICS nations, that is the world's most powerful nations that aren't members of Nato, are currently convening an emergency meeting to talk about the shit about to hit the fan. They know that something big is about to happen. There's high-level diplomacy taking place all around the world to try to avert what could be the beginnings of what most people will refer to as World War III, even though that started long ago, okay? Just today, Hezbollah conducted its largest ever attack of this conflict on an Israeli military base. Almost got no media attention. Massive explosion. I'll show you the video in just a moment. And this is problematic because this means that it's about to reach a critical mass of intensity, which is going to be very hard to put that genie back in that bottle. Sorry to mix metaphors there, but this war is about to go bananas. Now, we also have the U.S. military currently in Israel, apparently overseeing their nuclear facilities. Are they there to just simply offer defense and protection of these facilities, or are they there to help enable the Israelis to execute the Samson option or utilize these nuclear weapons when the time comes? Or are they there to interdict and prevent the Israelis from utilizing these nuclear weapons? Time will tell. But we most certainly know that things are not looking up, all right? We have the Houthis in Yemen who are becoming incredibly targeted and specific with respect to which commercial vessels they hijack. And that is not the first. They released a video today which is just something out of a movie, okay? And we got to talk about that and many, many other things. But before we do that, guys, there's a reason why you're seeing a nuclear bomb in the background here. There is a common misconception about World War III, and that is what? Well, that is that World War III starts with the use of a nuclear bomb. Unfortunately, it ends that way. Nuclear war is the end of World War III. In the run-up to what most people will recall as Judgment Day or World War III is hybrid warfare, asymmetric or conventional warfare. And there are many different ways that that might manifest, more than most people realize. Anything less than nuclear, essentially. These are some of the ways that World War III is currently being waged, and it just hasn't reached the nuclear level yet. All right, I got to take a deep breath for this, and we're going to be doing an in-depth, high-production video on this very topic in the near future. But get a load of this list that I put together, which most certainly is probably not exhaustive of all of the forms of hybrid warfare. Blocking canals, sinking ships in canals, shipping lanes, blocking straits, assassinations, targeting supply chain bottlenecks, gray man-style attacks using concealed weapons like ones concealed in shipping containers, weapons concealed in delivery trucks, train derailments, attacks on critical infrastructure, attacks on the power grid, waterworks, natural gas or oil pipelines, sleeper cells, kamikaze attacks, active shooter scenarios, suicide bombers taking hostages, blowing up oil refineries and oil fields or natural gas facilities, Nord Stream facilities, facilitating illegal immigrant crossings, utilizing loitering munitions or drone space warfare, lighting forest fires, nuclear deterrence posturing. Yes, posturing, not utilizing nuclear weapons, but just posturing. Red lines, utilizing decoys of various military equipment, even strategic nuclear military equipment. Signals in humans intelligence and disinformation, electronic warfare, special operations, taking out highways through various mountain ranges that might take months, if not years, to rebuild. targeting very important bridges, okay? Hypersonic missile technology, artificial intelligence, EMP weapons, biological warfare, including and not limited to agricultural warfare, invasive species, human viruses, engineering certain human viruses, economic warfare, embargoes, sanctions, boycotts, terrorists, freezing assets, prohibiting investment capital flows, terrorist attacks, cyber warfare, including that on the banking system, hacking nuclear facilities and other forms of critical infrastructure like the power grid or telecommunications, lawfare, deep fakes, information war, disinformation war, psychological operations, ideological subversion, socio-cultural manipulation, political manipulation, fomenting civil unrest and division, initiating protests and riots, troll farms, color revolutions, military drills, yes, drills, because you never know if those military drills are more than exercises, building tunnel networks, underground bunkers, targeting airports, blowing up dams and other pieces of critical infrastructure, attacks on nuclear power plants, dirty bombs, booby traps, and even leveraging the weather. Guys, this is World War III. That's what World War III looks like. This is just how it ends in the movies, but that's not how it's fought up until that point. Conventional warfare between nuclear superpowers has to be waged in a hybrid, typically asymmetrical way, so not to beget a massive nuclear response, right? So this is the precarious situation that we find ourselves in right now. We have nuclear-armed nations. Unfortunately, the situation in Israel is unique because if there ever was going to be a situation where nuclear weapons were used, it would be against a country who doesn't have a nuclear weapon to defend themselves and isn't at least openly under the nuclear umbrella of a nuclear superpower. So, in Israel's case, they have the walls closing in on them right now. No matter what they try to say, they're having a hard time with Hamas. And this 5-day truce, I don't think it's just for Hamas. I think it's going to be primarily for the purpose of information gathering on potentially hoping that maybe some of these Hamas members reveal themselves. But there's going to be a 5-day ceasefire. It's looking like it. And I think that, after this, after they get the women and children, I think Netanyahu he needs at this point in time to placate the people who are beating down his door, to get back the women and children specifically. I think if he can do that successfully, if he can get those 50 hostages back. As for the men, that's where the Hannibal Doctrine might just come into play, okay? And there's some new information that's come to light today with a former colonel of the IDF who claims that most definitely the Hannibal Doctrine was in effect that day on October 7th. This is an IDF guy, okay? I'm not going to make any comments on the veracity of those claims. But understand that after this 5 days, it's game over. And they're just going to go hard as a you-know-what. And they have the U.S.'s approval now to go into the South. And there even was a few leaks on Twitter. We don't know how accurate they are, but apparently a guy who's in the IDF said that in a month's time, there's going to be some major event taking place. Who knows what, right? I'll show you the actual tweet in just a moment. But you have the walls closing in because Hezbollah's attacks are intensifying every day, just a little tit for tat. It's vertical, but it's on a very, very slow incline at this point in time. So not many people are noticing just how fast things are intensifying on that front. We also have the Houthis, who released an incredible James Bond style Hollywood production video today. I don't get how these guys can be so brazen that they would film all this. One of the guys has a selfie stick, okay? They got what I'm assuming is a GoPro on the helicopter to help stabilize the image. They just, they're doing all this to telegraph something. And the thing is, this wasn't just some random commercial vessel. The media is like, oh, it's not even an Israeli vessel. They're just hiding. No. This belonged to a certain tycoon in Israel. This is sending a message to the Israeli elites, okay? This is, guys, this is, we're living in a world of gangsters fighting with one another, and nothing has made that more abundantly clear than what the Houthis just did today, okay? We have all kinds of shit going on in the world. Let's see if we can get some different stuff on the screen here today. So this is the attack on the Israeli military base. There's no, dead bodies or anything like that in here. I wouldn't show it if there was. Now, they claim that there was no casualties with this attack. I don't know how in the hell there can be no casualties in an attack like this when you can just see the scale of this. Typically, these Hezbollah attacks are very targeted. They're attacking radar installations, maybe a car, or some small contingent of groups, a grouping of troops, or a military vehicle, but nothing on this scale. Okay, so this was big. So is Israel downplaying the casualties and the effects of these conflicts? Is Israel downplaying the numbers as a whole so not to spook the population? That is a distinct possibility, in spite of letting some of their reserves go, okay? Now let's just open this image in a new tab here. In spite of letting some of their troops apparently go, some of the guys they mobilized, are they just doing that to make out as if, that things are going better than they actually are? Because their progress is starting to slow in Gaza City. I don't have the maps here today, but, there's just countless video footage coming out now of this, resistance fighting, this asymmetrical guerrilla-style fighting, which appears to be complicating the process a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this 5-day ceasefire. I don't even know how it's going to be successful, but it's going to have to be, because I think the only reason why Netanyahu is going through with it in the first place is he needs to appease his constituents. That's, period, point blank. He needs to avoid a revolution in his own country, and this might take the heat off just a little bit, give him a little bit of breathing room, give him the leverage that he needs to go in there and finish the job. You still got Egypt breathing down Israel's neck. They're not going to allow a Gazan influx into the Sinai Desert. They're simply not going to allow it, much like Jordan is not going to allow any more Palestinians into their already overflowing net food importing country. Now, this is the guy who owned the ship, okay? So this was not just a coincidence. According to Israeli media, this guy, what is his name again? His name is Abraham Rami Olger, okay? He has a lot of ties with local politicians, and his name was tied to multiple scandals in the Israeli political scene. Unger gave former Israeli President Ezer Weizmann $21,000 in small monthly installations. This story would later lead to Weizmann's resignation. So you know this guy is close to the inner circle, right? Very, very close to the inner circle. And of course, my camera's overheating again. What the? Everything's overheating nowadays. Anyways, so this is the problem here, guys. We talked about this before. I'll show you it on this map. This is that strait that the Houthis control, okay? This is the part of Yemen that the Houthis control in here in the mountains. Very difficult terrain. Remember, the U.S. has been bombing Yemen for how long? And they haven't been able to get rid of these guys. A lot of people are saying, there's been all kinds of piracy and stuff within this region. They reference the Somalis, and they say, well, yeah, the Somalis, they were hijacking boats left and right, and it didn't lead to a global crisis. Well, the Somalis didn't have helicopters, okay? They didn't have ballistic missiles. They didn't have these drones, these naval drones. They weren't even remotely as equipped as the Yemenis, and they didn't control this specific strait, this one narrow corner where we can see the traversing of thousands of vessels. Easily thousands in a month, but definitely hundreds in a day. You can see how many vessels there are. I mean, there's hundreds just right here, right now. This is real time, okay? All you have to do is start shooting ships with missiles. And I know people will say, well, that would invite a response from the rest of the world. Everybody would be like, okay, we got to go in and attack Yemen. We got to declare war on the Houthis. Sure, the thing is, who are the Houthis being sponsored by? They must be getting funding. Okay, this must just be, they must be getting funding. I know they're going to say they act independently, but what would the motivation be? I mean, sure, there might be some religious motivation. There might just be fanatics. But don't you think they're getting funding? They have some benefit that they're getting out of this? Why would they, go through with an operation like this? I can't even really show you the video, but this is one frame of it. Okay, they board a ship with this, what appears to be some kind of attack helicopter. Okay, and I mean, it's just an incredible scene. And, you got these armchair morons talking about how, oh, they're amateurs because, they're pointing the gun at the guy in front. I mean, they're just doing this so brazen. They got GoPros on their helmets. So what I'm trying to say is these guys must be funded, I'm thinking, by the Iranians. They have to be funded. Where are they getting all this technology from? Okay, I mean, maybe this is, independent, but I highly doubt it. Something else is going on here. These guys are being funded by someone. It might not even be Iran, but they're certainly being funded by someone else. Now, before my camera frickin' overheats, this was a tweet apparently from a guy in the IDF. He says, yes, next month I'll be tweeting from Beersheba, which is a city that's located in the southern part of Israel, kind of due east of the Gaza Strip. I want to be there to witness an important moment in history when we finally throw off these psychopaths that have been threatening us for decades. So what does he mean by this statement? That I'll be tweeting from Beersheba. So he's going to be deployed to Beersheba. Is he going to be deployed there because something big is going to happen? They're going to be doing a major offensive in the south. Or is he just anticipating that maybe by that time the situation is going to be resolved and he's just speaking in general terms? It's possible. But the name is Diogenes _7H3 virus, spelled with a 1 instead of an I. Now, we also have this situation. Things aren't looking up for the U.S. military, man. I mean, get a load of this. This is a Boeing Poseidon, P-8 Poseidon. You're having helicopters crash. You got F-35 problems. Now you got a very expensive ISR surveillance and reconnaissance plane that overshot a runway. Now it looks like quite foggy conditions. Okay, so that's probably weather related. But still, I mean, this is supposed to be the U.S. military, and they got a plane floating in the ocean. I don't know how much these planes are worth, but I'm certain there's a lot of very expensive equipment. And the Brits aren't doing any better because apparently their nuclear submarine malfunctioned, the depth gauge, and they almost imploded. Okay? This is, we are an embarrassment right now. Like, get a load of this, okay? So this actually happened last year. Remember there was that fire on one of the UK nuclear submarines? I mean, their nuclear triad, it's not even a triad. I think they only have the submarines with the Trident missiles. But it's shit. It's complete shit. This is why France is like, somebody's got to do something. So that's why they're doing their own testing of nukes right now. But yeah, so what happened was it went to a depth which it could not withstand, and it almost, what happened to the Titan around the Titanic there, it almost imploded. And fortunately, the 140 crew on board survived, and they were able to resolve the issue. But this is just a sign that we are not prepared to fight a nuclear war. Okay, everything they say about the Russians is likely just projection. Okay, it's likely that we suck, and we're just, it's like what's going on in Ukraine right now. I mean, there's some incredibly sad scenes coming out of Ukraine. Like, look at this. This is like one of those things where they try to boost the guys' morale. But I mean, all these guys, they're just like, they're so dejected and they just look so like, I feel bad for these guys, man. Like, they're all in their 50s, 40s, like old. And they just, they just look gray, you know, like just like walking dead men. And none of them want to be there. Maybe they just don't like the way she's singing. But I mean, at least help these guys get laid or something, you know? I mean, if you're going to send these guys off to their deaths, you know, don't just give them this this little tease here. Actually do something for them, you know? Like, come on. Anyways, this guy's on his phone here. He's like, this is bullshit. But it's sad, man, because the Ukrainians have almost had enough. And if the United States doesn't get behind them 110%, they sent like $100 billion in equipment, one HIMARS launcher, and just a bunch of other trinkets. You know, if they don't get behind them 150% right now, there's going to be a revolt in Ukraine. And that is going to backfire against NATO. And, you know, Ukraine had a population of 40 million people down to 28 million people. Absolutely incredible, man. Absolutely incredible. So NATO's got to do something. Now, they're saying that they're making progress, and Avdiivka is a battleground. It's everybody's losing troops on that front. But it's, you know, that war, that there's a reason why they're starting to get prepared for the situation that is blowing up in Finland right now on the borders. This is a tour of a Cuban underground military base. Apparently, Cuba has some big underground military bases as a result of, you know, the Soviet era and all that stuff. So I came across this video. I thought it was kind of interesting. But that's what's going down, guys. In Finland right now, they're shuttering all the borders, okay? So what's going on is currently the Russians, they are claiming they are staging these migrant crises on the border, trying to, you know, get these concentrations of migrants to try to move into Finland. So Finland is shutting all of its borders, and you're seeing as Ukraine collapses, all of the military attention is starting to be focused on the Baltic states, and they're starting to panic. They're already talking about, we only have a certain amount of time to prepare for a war with Russia, okay? And now that the border is, you know, huge right up against Russia, the only way I see this war ever being fought is non-conventionally, is with nuclear weapons. Because how can Russia, you know, take on the entirety of NATO? Which is not to say Russia doesn't right now, at least on paper, have a comparable military advantage, certainly a production advantages and capabilities. The Russians can produce 2,100 tanks per year right now compared to the US's 135 tanks per year. And we're talking about ground warfare. What's more important is their missile defense, and they can produce a lot of missiles and a lot of defensive anti-ballistic missile technology. So the Russians are situated to perhaps fight something conventionally, and now they have the experience, okay? And this is what a lot of countries lack, and this is what the United States lacks, and even the Israelis to a certain extent. You know, they're always talked up as being one of the greatest militaries in the world because they can subjugate a largely defenseless population who has to use the guerrilla tactics. I think we're seeing that what they have is a fancy full spectrum dominance over the air. They have a lot of expensive weapons that if they ever had to go up against a peer, they would likely get destroyed, okay? Because they're so used to playing on easy mode. The Americans are so used to playing on easy mode with these aircraft carriers. The reason why the aircraft carriers are there, I figured it out last night, is that one of the first things they're going to do, because a lot of these American aircraft are made to take off from, you know, very longer runways. They're made to, you know, they can't take off like a lot of the Soviet era, you know, planes. They're made to take off. They're made for nuclear war. So they're made to be able to take off from any old highway or anything like that. So they bring in the aircraft carriers knowing that one of the first targets that Hezbollah is going to target is going to be Israeli runways and their airstrips. So they're not going to be able to get their planes off the ground, okay? So this is why the aircraft carriers are there. And of course, in Jordan as well, which they are using as a launch pad for American and Israeli warplanes should the need arise. So they know that that's going to happen. The first thing they're going to take out is the airports. Well, Hezbollah doesn't really have many airplanes, if any at all, maybe some helicopters. But, you know, they're not going to rely, so they don't really need the airport so much. Maybe they do in Lebanon and Beirut for the government, but that's one of the first things they're going to take out. So that's why they need those aircraft carriers there. North Korea is going to be launching a satellite, so they say, a satellite in the coming days. They've given Japan advanced warning. The Russians, as I indicated yesterday, are going to be doing a test of their Sarmat, a 15,000-mile test. Now, guys, if there's ever anything that you think I missed in these videos, it's likely I already talked about it the day before and you just missed that video, because we are on top of this stuff. You know, I'm putting this stuff out on Twitter before most people even touch it. So, you know, everything you get here is up to date, is up to the minute. And if there's something that might have come out yesterday, I mean, that's already old news to me, because it's just this, you know, that's the speed and the pace of the cycle right now. We've had the hottest day in modern history, apparently. Let me see if I can pull that one up. Oh, we got Red Sea, you know, all sorts of weird shit going on there. Yeah, temperature. So the hottest day, 2 degrees above average. So these are the averages for the time of year. So this is the time of year. So January, February, March, April, May, you know, all the way to the end. And all these little lines that you're seeing here, these are different years going all the way back to the 1940s. This is where we are today, okay? Above 2 degrees C. Way above, like almost 1 whole degree above the recent record for this time of year. So it is getting hot, incredibly hot. This is Elon Musk flexing his panoptes. This is 33 engines under the Starship. Now, the thing that, you know, piqued my interest in this is that this came on the day that he was getting all that flack for, you know, being an anti-Semite and blah, blah, blah. And he came out and he distinctly said, check out the 33 engines underneath the Starship. I don't know what these guys, what the obsession is with these numbers. But anyways, I just thought that was, I'm not going to dwell on that too long. I won't lose sleep over it, but, you know, I'm sure some of you don't mind losing sleep over that. I must always go back to this graph. This is the Shiller PE ratio. We still are well above Black Tuesday, okay, in terms of the overvaluation of the market. Right now, a lot of the inflation remains buried in the stock market. We got hodlers right now. This, in any reasonable time, should be down to about here, okay, where we were at Black Monday. Okay, the average is around 15. So we are double the average. So that's how overvalued. Once all this liquidity liquidates into hard assets, the value of those hard assets correspondingly will rise, and that will be your inflation. Now, right now, the Fed is panicked because this Middle Eastern crisis, if the price of oil shoots up, that means that the Fed is likely going to have to raise rates, because the price of oil is going to lead to more inflation, right? If they can't get a hold of this Houthi situation and control the shipping lanes, then that means that we're going to see the price of oil go up, the price of everything else goes up, and then that leads to inflation. The only way the Fed can curtail inflation is by raising interest rates. If they raise interest rates, then the what's it called? The unrealized losses that a lot of these banks are currently sitting on grows to the point of system collapse, and then we see more banks collapse. So this is why this Middle Eastern crisis is such a gambit for the United States, because yes, they want a war. It's like kind of like a war between the military profiteers on one hand, who want to make profits, military industrial complex, and the banksters trying to keep the system aloft, trying to make sure that the US dollar doesn't collapse. Now they got Argentina on their side, so that's one win for the US dollar, I guess. Not many wins for the US dollar recently, especially in light of BRICS. But so that's just, food for thought. Anyways, what else do we got going on here? I think that's about all I need to cover, and it looks like we did it before the camera overheated. And for that, I am thankful. Oh yeah, one more thing. Rumble, the website Rumble, they were under a denial of service attack today, and it originated in China, apparently. China. I believe that's, or actually, you know what? I think that might be South Korea by the looks of things. Because yeah, this is Japan, and this would be either South Korea or North Korea. It's hard to say where that, either in one of the Koreas or in China. So somebody doesn't like Rumble, apparently. Of course, this is immediately after Rumble came to the backing of Elon Musk and his lawsuit against Media Matters for, all their advertising is now lost on Twitter, and a lot of the big players, okay? And so this means that they're going to potentially they're not going to make as much money, okay? And if they can't make as much money, then the platform might not grow or might not be sustainable. And this is why Elon is suing them for defamation or something to that effect. So I think that's about all I have to cover today. We're going to keep it short and sweet. Now, if you haven't seen my video today where I talk about this ultimate outdoor wilderness kit, getting firewood is one of the most important things in survival, wilderness survival, off-grid, camping, whatever the hell. I'm never coming home. And to be able to do it with a package that is very lightweight and very sleek, nice form factor, can fit inside a backpack very easily, and has all the tools that are built for preppers, okay, from one of the world-renowned manufacturers of these types of tools for the purpose of procuring firewood, which is effectively fuel. So this little kit that I demonstrated in the video I released earlier today is going to allow you to procure an indefinite amount of fuel in the form of firewood from your environment with relative ease. You get this Silky Outback Nato hatchet, and the reason why I like Japanese style hatchets is because of the form factor. It's long, it's narrow, as opposed to a more oddly shaped axe or hatchet or something like that that you have to put outside your pack. This is just as beefy, has a nice long surfaced area, and this is made for stealth. They actually made it in black oxide, so it's less reflective, so you're not drawing attention to yourself, and it's got a nice non-corrosive black oxide finish. Excellent addition to your preparedness kit. And then to couple it, you can get these Outback survival saws, which are made to be even tougher than their typical saws. And these saws go through wood like butter. Most people are amazed when they use just a normal Silky saw, but these Outback ones are made in the same, it's all in the same family, the Outback family, the same as that Nato. And they're just incredible saws, man. You can get them in different sizes. You can buy additional blades, even though you probably won't need an additional blade, but I would encourage you to get one. You can easily go through a 12-inch log with this thing, no problem. Much easier than any other saw on the market, and it is built tough. I know the owner of the company, and they made this for us, guys. They made these saws, for preppers and survivalists, with the advice that we provided them about what we wanted to see, more durability and just mostly durability. That was our primary condition. And that came at the cost of making them slightly less efficient in terms of how fast they cut, but they cut so fast, period, that it's still twice as fast as the next competitor. So there's smaller ones as well. And again, you can buy extra blades. So I'll post a link to that in the description. Go check the video out. I go into much more depth about it, especially as winter is coming. It's very important that you have a way to procure firewood. I would encourage you, if you're lazy, in the very least, just go on Craigslist, and if you got the money, order some firewood to your house. If you live in a climate that gets very cold, make sure you have a wood stove just in case. You can get cheap ones, you can get expensive ones, and there's ways to quickly modify any window in your house to receive a wood stove, because if that natural gas shuts off in the middle of winter, you are screwed if you're out of propane. All right, I'll post links to both of those videos in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and let's just keep our eyes peeled on this situation as it develops. I think the next 72 hours is going to be the most critical in this conflict. I think there is a prospect for peace, but I think it's very, very slim, if not nil at this point. But we're going to keep on hoping. That's all we can do at this point. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Canadian Prepper out.